Welcome back to another episode of Scotty and Motty. I hope you've had a banging bank holiday Monday. It's been particularly minging here in Manchester, wherever you are in the world. I hope it's been a bit better. Not managed to get out. I was in the cinema for 2.5 hours and it was Dungeons and Dragons.
Is it any good, that?
It's as good as James Young's producing, so you make of that what you will.
James Young is on a bit of form, I'll have you know. Aren't you younger?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was too busy producing. They're getting the live chat out on the side of the screen. That's
I like that. I was too busy producing,
too busy doing my job
to interact with you. I like that. It's a good approach to producing. I was too busy producing to take part in the show.
We were planning to start at 7 o'clock tonight.
Well, camera change. Look at this. He's got a camera change as well without even.
We were planning. You're interrupting worse than he is now. Professionals. Right, so we were going to start at 7 o'clock tonight, but we overran a little bit. Jay had to go. We'll go to the wide now, James. Jay had to go to use the loo, and James Young suggested that you may have been going to do something else to relieve yourself.
I'm going to go and have a wee. And he said, I thought you were going to say something else then.
Yeah.
He thought I was going upstairs to the toilet to masturbate.
Yeah.
Which is just disgusting because it's not even that time of the day.
When is the time of the day?
Well, it's not in between podcasts. It's not, anyway.
It's not at work.
So then
in a communal toilet.
We've all been there. Right, so I asked James how often he does it, like shakes the snake.
Yeah.
And I understand why he's so tense all the time now. How old are you, James?
20.
Right. Twice a week.
Twice a week?
Yeah.
At the age of 20? Really?
And he goes, it gets worse if you do it too often.
He only does it twice a week, but those last for 3 days.
Yeah. So I think he thought it was a limited supply, that if he used it all, then... Anyway, we're going to talk about football tonight. Yesterday, me and Jay were on the watch-along. It was dire to watch, wasn't it? There was very little to sort of get excited about at all.
Awful again.
Yeah. Everyone's been screaming for De Gea to go across all platforms and social media, as in the newspapers. I think it is coming towards the end, whether we'll be able to replace him this summer. I'm unsure. There's a lot of culprits that need to leave, though, Jay, so we're going with massive overhaul. We'll go back to the godfather of the gang press. That was a reference to the Blue Bell. Remember that? Remember me?
Yeah, I do remember that song. Yeah, it came and went with a... It was quite a big hit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then did and
disappeared.
Yeah.
Bit like Ralph Ragnick.
Exactly,
so he suggested we might need 10 players, and it doesn't look like he was wrong.
No, he wasn't. And it was weird. I was thinking about this morning because he was sort of ridiculed and dismissed, Ralph Ragnick, and he should never have been manager of Manchester United. I think that's a given. But he made some good points, and maybe he could have had worked in some capacity as an advisor or whatever. But one of the things he said was, like you say, about the 10 players that need to go. And I was always a little bit surprised that him and Erik Ten Hag didn't really do any sort of handover or anything, because he'd left, when he left as manager, he was still, for a little while, meant to be this advisor and part of the club. And yet I think they had a 45-minute phone call. So it was obviously Erik Ten Hag just wasn't interested in what he had to say, and I thought maybe they could have done a bit more, where he could have at least met him and he could have gone through the squad and he could have said, look, this is my opinion on this player, that player, or whatever, and at least took that on board, or maybe just listen to what he had to say, whether he wanted to ignore it or not, because he was probably accurate in terms of the amount of players we're going to need, because we brought in 5 in the summer?
Yep.
Was it? And there's still a way to go. Now, I don't expect Erik Ten Hag, I didn't expect him to do it overnight, and I still don't. I think it might take two or maybe 3 more transfer windows till he's got an 11 that he's completely happy with. But there's not many that you think, players that he inherited, that he'd keep.
No, Rashford.
Shaw.
Fernandes.
I mean, that might be it. I know that sounds a bit harsh, but Wan-Bissaka's been linked with a move away. Maguire and Lindelof aren't first choice centre-backs. Varane probably another one you'd keep. the midfield, obviously Casemiro's coming out, he's coming Fred, I think, are both. I know you like Fred and I get it, but I think he might be going in summer because his contract nearly up.
He's 30 years of age.
He's 30, yeah. Scott McTominay's been linked with a move to Newcastle quite heavily. I mean, there was the one sort of, maybe one of the ones you thought, oh, well, he'll be around was De Gea, and now that's not sure at all, and especially after the last game and some of the other games we've seen, like the Sevilla game and what have you. So it does look like Ralph Rangnick's going to be looking accurate in his assessment.
And it wasn't a shock when he said that either. And I think in the January, because didn't he start just before Christmas, if I'm right, Ralph Rangnick? And he said that he asked to buy a striker, and he was looking at Vlahovic, he went to Juventus after Fiorentina.
Yeah, he did.
And he was saying that we need a striker up front, and that's like 18 months ago. And then we followed that up with buying Weghorst.
Yeah, he made that point. He did. You're right. And he said about Alvarez, who went to City. I think that deal was already done. I mean, it was easy to dismiss it because he just named all the best young strikers, basically, didn't he? And a lot of people went, well, he's just naming all the best players, and everyone can do anything. But
you Manchester United, you're supposed to be.
I know, but you should have got Diaz, who went to Liverpool, Alvarez, who went to City, Vlahovic, who was at Fiorentina at the time. And some people cynical might go, well, you're just naming all, or Haaland or whatever. You're naming the best players, and obviously anyone can see that. But he was right, and I felt for him in the sense that he obviously wanted that player in January when he came in, and didn't get it. And you could see how big an effect a striker could have had. But I feel sorry for Ten Hag because we had obviously Ronaldo and he had Martial. Martial's been injured practically all season. Ronaldo left, and I think he had to leave the way that interview with Piers Morgan. And then instead of just giving the manager some funds in January because he's lost a striker and he's got another one who's basically out of the season almost, he had to get a free transfer in, and the best he could do, and I get it, was Wout Weghorst.
Can we try and be critical of Ten Hag? And I see Andy Tate talking on Stretford Paddock the other day saying people are slagging Ten Hag off. And it's not, you can be critical of someone without slagging them off. There's a difference. Don't jump to saying, well, maybe he should have done some things a little bit differently. Was it wrong or naive to welcome back Anthony Martial last summer and say, I'm going to give him a try? Given the history that he'd been in Seville and done nothing over there as a loan move, and the Ronaldo rumours were happening around that time, should a striker not have been first and foremost on the list of trying, moving forward and buying a player? Like I'd have taken a striker over an Antony. If you had 100 mil.
Yeah, I probably would have. I think I kind of understand it. I'm not making excuses for it tonight. I do like the guy and I think he's the right man for the job, but I will criticise the manager if he's made a mistake. I think pre-season might have flattered to deceive a bit because I was over there in pre-season and Martial and Sancho and Rashford all linked up well. The three of them looked like they were gelling. Rashford, who hadn't scored at all for United in months, got a goal. Sancho, I can't remember if he scored, but he certainly looked lively. Martial was back to his best. And you can say, okay, I know it's only pre-season, but some of the opposition was Liverpool, not exactly the first team, but they had a few first teamers in it. Good performance there, another good performance. You think, okay, I can understand why he believes this can work. And then you had Ronaldo to come back into the team. So I understand it, and I'm not saying he had the wool pulled over his eyes or whatever, but maybe that just flattered to deceive a bit that pre-season. Maybe he put too much belief in it because it wasn't as accurate as we wanted it to be, because obviously he got injured against Atletico, I think, in Norway in that pre-season game, was out for the first couple of games, came back in for Liverpool game, did well, but only played 45 minutes, and then he's just been constantly in and out of the team, did well obviously in the derby where he came in off the bench and scored 2 goals, but has been injured so much you can't rely on him. And I read a stat earlier, I think he's got 9 Premier League goals in 3 years. So I make this argument that we don't just need one striker. I think we need 2.
No, I completely agree with you.
And I've argued a little bit with people over this because people say you can't buy 2 strikers in a window. Well, you can, and we're going to have to, because let's face facts, right? Erling Haaland at Dortmund got injured a few times. Look at City; he's not been injured. Why? Because he gets rested when he needs to get rest. Okay, he's not playing the same style. He doesn't have to do as much work as he did at Dortmund because he's just getting fed loads of chances and just that's your job just to get on the end of him. But he gets rested. Julian Alvarez, I think, has played 40 games this season. So when they need to take Erling Haaland out of the game, they do. When they need to rest him, they do. So he doesn't have to play every single game. Now, if you brought in a striker, say it's Harry Kane, and Man United are playing 50 games and we expect him to play all those games because he's our only striker, he's going to get injured. I know he's got a great injury record over the last couple of years, but if you're running him into the ground, he's going to. So you need someone who can come in. Now, if that person is Anthony Martial, how often is he fit to come in? He's not.
No, not at all.
And how reliable is he when he does come in? So you basically going to end up with Harry Kane running him into the ground, then he gets injured, and you've got no one. So I think we need 2 strikers, I really do.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And it doesn't have to be a superstar. I mean, City was great business getting Haaland and Alvarez in.
They got 2 strikers, exactly.
Yeah,
one was 40 million, and the other one, I think it was about 56 million buyout clause, but then there was his signing on fee, which doesn't count apparently towards his transfer. But it was great business, even being honest. It pains me to say, but it was, you're right.
Yeah.
And I think that it's doable. Like you say, you get one big name, whether that's Harry Kane, and then you shop around. You should have scouts that are going.
Manchester United scouting system is one of the worst, considering how big the club is, and I've said this for years, how bad our scouting system is in terms of bringing in new players that no one's ever heard of, and bringing them up to the heights and stuff. You've seen City over the last 10 years bringing players through that out. Like, we wouldn't have signed Alvarez. Do you know when's the last time United unearthed a gem? And I've said this before on this podcast and on Stretford Paddock. What are the scouts doing? Because the players we signed in the summer, Casemiro was a given. If he's available, you don't need any scouting report for that, do you?
No, you don't.
Or Eriksen's not.
Thanks, Ethan. Producer Ethan, just helping me out there.
Right,
my single makes me look about 4'1".
So Eriksen, everyone knew about him.
Bro. Yeah.
Martinez, that was Ten Hag signing Antony. So it's like, what are the scouting people doing at Manchester United?
Carl Anke made a good point as well. He said on when we had him on a podcast, he said everyone loves Ten Hag and he's doing a good job, but you don't want the managers to be doing everything. You don't want the managers to go in, all the players who buy ones I've scouted, unless it's like, say, Casemiro, which is just a world-class superstar. You want the club to have scouted players and go, look, here's a list of players we've got that will fit your system, that will work in your system, who we are willing to sanction if you go for one of them, which ones you want. Something like that can work.
That's what happens at City.
Yeah, it happens at Liverpool as well. Liverpool scouted Salah for Klopp and Van Dijk, and then when they didn't get Van Dijk the first time around, they waited. There was a system there. And you're right, City's the same. Where at United, it's like, it's either whoever deciding and not having a word with the manager, like when you end up with Fred for Mourinho. Mourinho didn't want him, but he had him. And that was a waste because he didn't play him for ages. Or who was the kid that we got from Ajax for Solskjaer? Van der Beek, who Ollie obviously didn't rate. I barely played him. So you can't have that. You have to have him working together.
Yeah.
If you're going to buy players for the manager's got to want him and want to use them and trust the scouting system. So you've either had that scenario, or it's one where it's all on the manager, like you say, where the manager's going, I want Malacia, I want Antony, I want Martinez. It's his sort of carte blanche. There has to be a bit of balance. So the manager might say, listen, I rate this player, whatever. But the scouting system should be able to go, look, here's a list. These fit your system. These fit the positions we need. Which ones you want. That can work.
Yeah.
But since Fergie, we've not had that.
No. And looking again at how do you sort of put some of the blame towards Ten Hag with our recent performances, especially if you're looking at this evening when we're recording. I think Brighton will be in Brighton. Was it 4-1?
Brighton, I think Everton are 4-1.
Everton 4-1 up against Brighton, and that was a Brighton team that we've only scored
5-1 full time.
5-1. I've just got a message to my dad then saying that.
So they've scored 5 against the Brighton team that we've only scored 1 against in 3 attempts.
3 attempts and extra time.
And that's an Everton team that are fighting for relegation, fighting to stay away from relegation.
You're right. It's not good enough. And listen, I loved Fergie, but I questioned him. I remember.
You said that's your right as a fan. Yeah. You're not throwing anyone under the bus.
No, I'm not saying he wasn't a good manager. He's the greatest manager of all time. But there's times when he did things and I go, I don't know why he's done that. I don't know why Carlos Tevez is being dropped for this game, or why Berbatov's not in the squad.
Why he didn't sign Carlos Tevez.
Yeah, there was loads of times I questioned it. So there's nothing wrong with questioning. This isn't MUTV, and I'm not just going to go, well, Erik Ten Hag's done that, and that makes loads of sense. There's been a few things this season, subs or whatever, where I've gone, I don't really agree with that or whatever. Obviously, he knows far more than I'll ever know about football. But you can question the manager. Of course you can. It's your right as a fan, and it's what we do.
So where do you sort of put any of the responsibility of our performances since the Carabao Cup final? You can put it down to, like, fatigue or whatever. But as we're seeing today, that's an Everton team that's been underperforming all season. They've managed to go down to Brighton and get 5 points. Is there a sort of an arrogance that has made it slipped into the team that we might be better than these teams that we go and play? Is away record, if you look at that, if you isolate his away record this season, it's abysmal.
Yeah.
So like, you've got to, that's not all on the players.
He has to take some responsibility because he's the manager. Some of the players that are playing he's signed, all of them he's picked. I do think there's mitigating circumstances, which I said yesterday on the live. Obviously, the amount of games we've played. We've played, I think, is it 56 games or something, which is about 16 more than most teams.
Yeah.
Even more than that for some teams. So there's obviously that doesn't help. I think he was sold a dud in January when he wasn't given any money. It was just get loan signings.
I agree with that, and I agree.
But you don't just get a pass when you lose 8 out of 9 games away from home. You don't just get, oh well, it's none of it's your fault. He has to take responsibility. And I said this in my news this morning. I was straight for Paddock. The one thing I'm worried about with Erik Ten Hag, I rate him. I think he's the right man for the job, and I think he needs time. I think when I say time, I don't mean a year. I think he needs 3 or 4 years. Klopp didn't win anything for 3 years. Klopp was given time. Even Pep didn't win anything in his first year. But the new owners are going to come in, whoever they may be. They're going to look at it. If United aren't in the Champions League, I know it's a big if, but if we're not in the Champions League, just from a business point of view, if you're buying an asset and your asset hasn't got access to the biggest market out there, which is the Champions League, then you're going to question why, and it's going to hurt you because you're missing out on potentially another 100 million quid, and plus probably more with sponsorship and all the kudos and everything that goes with it. And you're going to look at that and you're going to go, why haven't we got in the Champions League? They don't owe Erik Ten Hag anything. Whoever comes in, whether it's Sheikh Jassim or Sir Jim Ratcliffe or maybe it's someone else. So they might go, right, well, I'm going to get someone else in. I don't know this guy. I didn't hire him.
Yeah.
He's not done the job that I needed when I've come in because we're not in the Champions League. I don't really care about the Carabao Cup because that's neither here nor there in terms of just purely from a business point of view. So I think he's under pressure. I think if we do drop the ball in, we don't get top 4, I think Erik Ten Hag could be in serious pressure when a new owner comes in because they're going to question that.
Do you find that there could be some fault with the whole ownership going on behind closed doors that may have seeped into the team at all? Do you think that? And remember that for the first season when Fergie said he's going to retire, and he did it halfway through the season, in which United just completely fell off.
Yeah.
So I just wonder if there's anything like that, because it certainly gathered pace. You know, I think it was announced just before Christmas, wasn't it?
It was the Ronaldo day, wasn't it?
The Ronaldo day, and then like we won the Carabao Cup, and it just seems to have completely fell off a cliff. So do you think that could have, you know?
It could. I do wonder how much, when you're playing football, that is playing on your mind about the ownership. I remember Luke Shaw once said it, didn't he? He said that what's going on upstairs doesn't help. And I get it, but then I thought he was going through a bad time, a bad spell. And I thought, well, that doesn't mean you don't pick up Mo Salah when he's running in behind you. That's neither there, really. So I'm not so sure it has a massive effect. I think it might, maybe it's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of fatigue, it's a little bit of complacency, it's a little bit of just being distracted or not being as sure as you should be. It's a little bit of not having the players that you want. It's just all these different things, a little bit of team turning up against you because it's still a big game when you play Man United. And we're just not prepared for that. And yet, at Old Trafford, we obviously are.
You said yesterday when we were doing the review of the game that if United do fall out of the top 4, that's a failure on Ten Hag's part.
Yeah.
Which, you know, this season's gone better than I think most Manchester United fans would have expected. If we were fighting for a top 4 spot and won a Carabao Cup, if you'd have told me that at the beginning of last September, you'd have taken it. But the thing is, now our expectations...
That's the thing, though. It's the fighting thing. Fighting for a top 4 spot, but not getting it when you're in it. That's the problem.
Yeah, for a long period as well.
If we'd been mid-table till February and we'd had a surge after winning the Carabao and we got ourselves into 5th, you go, okay, we're moving in the right direction going into next season. The issue is we've gone the other way around. We were flying at Christmas. We were, around January, whatever, after the World Cup, we were doing really well. Tailed off a little bit in the league, won the Carabao Cup, then I've had this erratic form, and there's a danger. If we drop, don't forget, if we drop out of the top 4 now, it means we've lost 2 of the last 4, basically, done it, or drawn 2 and won 2 of the last 4, which isn't great when you look at our fixtures. So you're deflated, then you've got the FA Cup final. Now, I fear the worst there. I do. Our record away from Old Trafford isn't great. I know we beat Newcastle in the Carabao and we beat Brighton.
We struggled against Brighton, even though we beat Brighton there.
But let's not kid ourselves here. This isn't where you go United away from home or United at Wembley.
One-off game and all that sort of stuff.
I do worry that could be not just a loss, but a hard one. And if that's the case, I'm just being a little bit negative, but trying to put a point across. If we've dropped out of top 4 and we get battered off City, he's going into next season looking over his shoulder. I'm sorry, that is just the nature.
No, I agree with you, but this, for me, when you find this dip in form, I think being a football manager, I only use it from my very minimal experience of playing for Bolton as a young lad, or being a fan. I think managers are required to do their job more when form's bad. When they're playing well, I think it's a bit of an easier job. So Ten Hag's under a lot of pressure himself to try and turn this away. Now we've got a week off between the Wolves game, haven't we? So that should help.
Just give him a couple of days off.
The thing is, if the Wolves game goes to shit as well, you can't be using the fatigue excuse again. You just can't do it.
It annoys me because if that does go to shit, if the wheels do come off in the season, is it another manager who's lost the players?
But the thing is, and it's the way...
I know it's a lot of ifs there.
Yeah.
But is it? Because Ollie lost the players, Mourinho lost the players, Ralph Rangnick never really had him.
But how can something... Unless he's been going around seeing everybody else's misses on the side.
That's what I mean.
Why has it happened?
Why has that happened? Is it what Roy Keane said? That these players just down tools and throw managers under the bus when they can't be bothered anymore? Is that the sort of... the atmosphere or the nature of
because we thought we got rid of a lot of that, didn't we? When
I'm not saying it is bad, I'm not saying...
when we see the back of like Pogba and Lingard and stuff, and there was a lot of leaks to the chain to the press.
Now we've got a better atmosphere and a better sort of camaraderie.
Fans seem a little bit more, excuse the pun, united than they have done previously.
But if things went sour for Ten Hag and we were to sort of fall off a cliff and the players that were performing earlier on the season stopped, would you think, well, he's lost these players? Yeah. And then would it be a case of, right, let's get another manager in? And then you look at it and you go, how many managers can we go through? What is going on?
Yeah.
And also, some of these players, I'm not saying they've down tools or whatever, but they were or are good players. Like Casemiro's amazing. Varane, I know he's injured, but Varane, sure. These are good players. So what's going on? What is it about United? Is there something sort of just generally or not right about the atmosphere of the club or whatever?
Right. And I completely buy into that, and I buy into the sort of fatigue stuff and how many games they've been playing. And then I saw yesterday there was 8 minutes of injury time. So for the last 15 minutes, they seem to want to win the game. Right. So if you're knackered,
I think you're being kind. I think it's the last 7 minutes.
Right. So but the point, so why be desperate then when you know like the clock's running down? Why not show that? So if you've got that in your tank, further down the line in the game, why are you not doing that when De Gea makes the howler? Or why are you not doing that post Ten Hag speaking to you in the changing rooms? And that's the thing. That's where you get worried. Is it some sort of mental block? Is it that they can't be asked or whatever? What's the comment saying?
I'm glad you said because we've spoke for quite a while. Forgive us because we obviously had a lot to
very
get through.
Passionate, you see.
I'll go through. Santon Hutch says I'm 2.5 times James's age. Joy Boy says Ralph Rangnick was right. Raf22 says Jay Ragnick as a coach was tragic, but as a director he could have been an asset. Colin Coupleditch says the lamp is giving Scotty a Renaissance-esque angelic halo, and I'm all here for it. Bernardino says Ralph Ragnick said we need 10 new players. How many were obvious? He weren't saying out, we didn't know. Erik Ten Hag is 25% through that process. Solo in the chat says big up Jay and Scotty. Solo obviously from United Agenda, great channel. You'll see myself on there sometimes. Andy Tate goes on there. I think Talk was in the chat as well. Good to see Talk. Sorry, I've lost your chat somewhere. Always good to see you, brother. Bill O'Reilly saying, Scotty, you bang on. Joel Eaton says, if it's players down in tools, there isn't many common denominators left from Jose, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Ralph Rangnick. It's not as much of a game of guess who is a massive snide as it used to be. Raf22 says, go on, Scotty. Totally agree.
That's a good game, isn't it? Guess the massive snide.
Guess the massive snide. Youngie, you've been quiet for the last 17 minutes, which is a rarity. What do you make of it? Are you worried? Are you starting to think that these players are doing what they've done, or are we being a little bit melodramatic I don't know. Off the two bad results?
I still think it's been a pretty good season. I hope it's just a bad run of form, but like I've really enjoyed the season as a United fan. 2 cup finals. Hopefully, I think they'll still get top 4. I think Ten Hag's taking the club in the right direction, but I think the ownership situation isn't helping anyone, because you're already seeing teams next season, City, Arsenal, they're all going to be planning for who they're going to be signing, and Ten Hag still doesn't know how much money he's got and what is going to be available to him. So I think that's going to be another big problem.
Yeah, that is a really big fear. Do you think he made a mistake not prioritising 2 competitions instead of 4? Because I've seen someone tweet there saying how is having the most games in Europe not an excuse. Because if you're a manager and you're fighting on all them fronts, at some point you've got depleted numbers.
Ollie did it, didn't he? Ollie, remember in his first full season, we went to all his semis. He went for everything, didn't he? And we fell off a cliff. Do you remember? We had that awful game in the FA Cup semi-final against Chelsea. Was it Sevilla in the semi-final of the
Europa League.
Thank you, and City in the Carabao Cup semi-final. And then we sort of staggered along a little bit in the league, but managed to rally to get 3rd. So yeah, it happened. It has happened to us. I don't really blame the manager too much for going for it, because I thought a few months ago we had a chance in all 4 apart from the league. I thought we could have won 3 trophies.
No, I agree. I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, at the time, I was all about it.
Yeah, but
I was loving it.
But the thing is, I don't know how much we can be surprised where we are now.
I think
because we did have limited numbers going into so many games, and I think if you're the manager, you can't have the enthusiasm, the naivety that fans have got that we might be able to, what them players are capable of, or their injury record.
People don't like to talk about luck. Right? People just don't. If you mention luck, people just start kicking off or saying it doesn't exist or whatever. But there's certain aspects of Ten Hag's United tenure that have been a bit unlucky. For example, the penalty against Sociedad that wasn't a penalty. They've got the rules wrong. That gives you an extra 2 games against Barcelona. Now, we got through them, but it's an extra 2 games we could have done without. The injury to Martinez recently, the end of that Sevilla game, that's massive. He's such a big player for us. That really matters.
Varane the same game.
That's bad luck. I'm sorry. It just is. Losing, I mean, even Anthony Martial, I know he's not everyone's flavour of the month, but he doesn't usually miss 2/3 of the season for injury. Like, to have him out, and then even, you've got no money, the board say, look, you can just get loan signings. You can't even go out and buy anyone. So you go, okay, I'll bring in Wout Weghorst. For a while, Wout Weghorst was doing a job. It looked like, all right, but as the games kick on, he doesn't get any goals, and you can see the confidence is draining from him. He's now become practically useless. So I just feel there is a little bit of unfortunateness about it, if that's a word. Misfortune, obviously, is a word. Which hasn't helped him.
Yeah.
Because sometimes a manager can be lucky. A manager can get a rub of a green, no injuries.
If you look at the season, Leicester won the league.
Yeah, no injuries
all season.
No injuries. Help the fact that you had a manager in Claudio Ranieri who throughout his career was nicknamed the Tinkerman.
Yeah.
Famous for tinkering with the team. Danny Simpson sat where you were there. One of the reasons that he didn't tinker with the team, he couldn't. He didn't have a squad. I think Danny Simpson missed the first 10 games and he carried on training and got himself back into the team. And he played every game from then on. There was no, I'm going to drop Vardy this week and play someone else, or I'm going to take out N'Golo Kante. But you ain't got a choice.
Necessity. Yeah. And then they've got the rub of the green because
because you got no injuries. Had Kante or Vardy or Mahrez picked up a long-term injury or been out for a month even, that probably does for him. But they didn't. And then we've seen situations where those players have been injured since. Yeah. I know they've been getting older. So rub of the green is a thing, and he hasn't really had a lot of that. I think the one thing I will say about Ten Hag, and this might seem like a criticism, take it to whatever way you want. I think one thing he's been very good at is winning the games I'd expect him to win. I expect Manchester United to win all their home games. I don't care if it's Barcelona, City, Liverpool. I do. I think we should be beating anyone at home. I really do. I do.
But do you not think we should have been winning some of the games away?
That's my point I'm getting to. Right. I don't think he's won any game I don't expect him to win.
Right, okay.
Name me a game you wouldn't expect United to win that he's won.
It's a good point.
And people may go, Barcelona at home. I think we should be beating Barcelona at home. I think we should be beating City at home. I think we should be beating Arsenal, Liverpool at home. I think also we should be able to beat Villa away. I think we should be able to beat Brentford away. I think we should be able to beat Brighton away.
Yeah.
I think we should be able to beat West Ham away. Now, no, I know we haven't, but other than that, yeah, I don't expect us to win at the Etihad. I don't expect us to win at Anfield. I don't expect us to win in the Newcastle.
Don't expect us to lose in the manner we did, though.
I don't. And also, you might go, well, Newcastle in the Carabao Cup. I think we should be beating Newcastle at a neutral venue. Yeah, I don't think we should definitely be beating them at St James's, and we didn't. We lost. Yeah. So He's done what other managers haven't, in the sense that Ralph Rangnick didn't do that. He's won the games he should have won, and lost a few he should have won as well. But he hasn't won any I don't expect him to win.
So
do you understand?
Yeah,
I can't think of a result where I've gone, wow.
Right, so he's not pulling
We've smacked. I did not think we could go to Anfield and get a result, and we did.
Right, so in that sense, then, is he pulling up any trees this season as a manager?
I think it's a process.
Right, so
he's got to go through.
If you were to grade, it ends as it is now. We don't win the FA Cup and we finish 4th in the league, right?
Yeah.
If it was an English paper, A, B, C, D, what is it?
Because I wanted a trophy in top 4 before the season, I'd give him an A-.
An A-, based not on the football or results, but on where
he's achieved what he needed to achieve. The reason I'd put a minus in there is because I can't ignore some of the results we've had.
You can't give it an A. Got beat 7-0 by fucking Liverpool this season. Actually, what do you think?
That's why I'd get about there's a minus in there, because I can't just ignore the fact City and Liverpool absolutely battered us, and Brentford did as well.
Yeah, I'd give him a B for you.
Right, but I think if you'd have said to me before the season starts, you're going to take a few spankings, but you're going to get top 4 in a trophy, I'd have bit your hand off.
Yeah.
I really would have.
Let's get the people who are watching. Right, so if you could grade Ten Hag's season, I think we've got like 4 games left. So if it ends as we are now, we don't win the FA Cup, we finish with the Carabao, and in the top 4, A, B, C, D, E, what would you grade it as?
I'd go... I'd go... So I'm just surprised a few people agreeing with my comment there, which is where I would say everyone's going for a B. Daniel Gray, Bill O'Reilly, David Aite, Joel Eaton, Daniel Riley, Ralph 22, Chibukem, Anya Charbelu.
Oh, someone's going to see there.
Good Vibes Glenn has gone B+. Happy. Gurpreet Jill says C. James Hunsinger says B-. Crimson Kate.
I don't think the football's been that great either.
Sandra Knott says B+. Juicy Lose 9, B+. Billy Forward B. It's a really good question. It's got everyone getting involved. Jace Parker, evening Jay, evening. Daniel Farr, B as it is now, top 4 in FA, A. Barath, Ballas, Subara, Yamnya, B+. He stamped me for saying his name right, but I'll say it again, I'll probably get it wrong. Yeah, good vibes, Glenn. Yes, Glenn F, good to see you in the chat, bro. I agree with the football. I think that at times the football hasn't been... I don't think there's been many goals for me which have reminded me of the play and the style that we saw at Ajax.
No.
Where you go, you know, when they had that sort of free-flowing Dusan Tadic turning into like the second coming of, I don't know, Maradona. You're like, wow, where's this coming from?
It's a lot of counter-attacking, which is a little bit, you know, that's not much for progression on Solskjaer, and he's had the benefit of adding like one of the world's best players in Casemiro and a lot more. You know, he's got a better squad at his disposal than Solskjaer. We've not been controlling games in the way we'd hoped to. We have been getting the results, and we've had moments that have been brilliant. For me, I think the probably 2 notable performances this season. I think Everton was good, but we're playing Everton for Christ's sake at home, and it should be. And we should have been more clinical anyway, so you get like a B+ for that. Barca was a great performance, and you know what? I even though we lost the game, I thought Arsenal, in spite of us losing Casemiro away, I thought we played well in that game. Rashford's goal, and you know, in terms of the pace and
we fell off a cliff, didn't we?
Yeah, and the urgency. That game could be sort of a metaphor for our season. Do you know what I mean? In many ways, but the sort of urgency we were playing and knocking the ball on, like this is the sexy football, you know, that you want.
You make a good point there, and that's another thing I've got to say about Luck as well. Casemiro getting 2 red cards, he's not on the manager,
and not come back from him.
No, he hasn't. I mean, it's almost derailed his season. And that's a bit unlucky. But yeah, the Arsenal game as well, we played Palace, didn't we, midweek? They had no game that, and you could tell. Because after 75 minutes, one team was full of beans, another team looked goosed. Yeah. So I do think that has an effect as well. So yeah, and again, that was the postponed game because of the Queen dying. Just, how's your luck? We're going to put it there. And Arsenal didn't have one. And I think you know, that makes a difference. You have that extra few days, then I think that loss could have easily been a draw, or even we nick it. So yeah, there's lots of mitigating circumstances. I think for me, getting over the line this season in the Champions League winning trophy is the most important thing. I think we can forgive some of the football we've seen. I think we can forgive
Yeah, of
some
course.
of
This
the
is baseline. This is baseline.
You
this.
just have to get over that line,
yeah.
and you have to. The two main things was end the trophy drought and get into Europe. Now he's done one, and he's in good position to do the other.
Yeah.
And he'll even, if he does those two things, he'll get forgiven if we get turned over in the FA Cup final. If he's already got a trophy and got a top four, I don't think anyone's been calling for his head if City turn us over after that. However, if you've dropped out top four and then you lose the FA Cup final badly,
lost the top four to Liverpool.
Yeah.
And then you're sort of standing by a Carabao Cup.
And then what happens as well is losing top four to Liverpool and losing the FA Cup final to City. A lot of the fans ain't going to be backing you the way you need them to be. So if a new owner comes in, I keep going back to this, but I do feel like it's going to be. New owner comes in and they sense that the fans aren't bothered, they'll just get rid of you.
Let me put a hypothetical to you, and maybe people out there that are watching. Obviously, we both want Ten Hag to stay. Could you possibly see a replacement out there though, if you're like say the Sheikh or Sir Jim, if they were to come in and like make hallmark changes, could you say what, a Nagelsmann? There's not many out there that you could sort of see of a calibre.
No.
Do you know what I mean? So that might be a saving grace if the pressure does get to him. You know, like when people are asking for his job. Ten Hag was the one. Like he was the next one. So I mean, it'd be very knee jerk to come in and do that.
It would, and like I say, I want him to stay. I want him to be given time.
But could you see a replacement across Europe?
Nagelsmann's one that's been sort of.
He turned down Chelsea, didn't he?
Mooted about.
There's Poch still on there.
Poch still is forever linked with Manchester United. Pochettino. Luis Enrique is another one who's done the rounds in terms of being linked with jobs. I don't know if he's been snapped.
He's only Barcelona and Spain though.
Listen, I'm not saying,
and bad at Spain as well.
I'm not saying he's my guy.
Yeah.
But that's one that's being sort of suggested. You just don't know, do you? Because it's like, look at what Todd Boehly did as an example of the extreme.
Yeah.
You've got a manager who a year ago won the Champions League, who is one of the most respected young managers or youngish managers in Europe or the world. And because you don't really gel with him and you don't really like him, as soon as the results go a little bit Pete's on, you get rid of him with no real plan. Like, they didn't have do you know what I mean? Oh, right, we're getting rid of him. We're get rid of him, right? Potter. We're getting Potter in. Throw a load of money in and do everything. Because I don't think they had a plan properly, because they treated Potter at Chelsea the opposite of what had made him successful. Potter was used to working with a small, close-knit group of players, long-term scouting, and just having this like family atmosphere, and we're on this. Chelsea went and got him, threw a load of signings at him, and then was surprised when it didn't work. It didn't make any sense, that to me. It was almost like a Manchester United.
Do you think that could happen at United then?
With the new owner, anything could happen. Anything.
Because that's a seldom spoken narrative, isn't it? I think most people are expecting City or PSG. That's the sort of expecting.
Me and you, was it me and you? And I think it was me, Joe, and Mako were talking about it. It's Adam McCullough, and saying about PSG. That's been a bit of a mess at times.
Yeah.
Because they've won the league every season. They have spent about 10 times more than anyone else in that league. Like, they should be winning the league every year. They've been to one Champions League final, I think, and the record isn't great in the Champions League. I think in the last 10 years they've been past the last 16 twice or something, or to the last 16 and beyond twice. So it isn't great, and they go through a lot of managers, and they've got players on these massive contracts, apparently.
And Neymar and Messi are leaving in the summer, aren't they? From rumours.
I've just put a link in the chat as well to our Patreon. There's extra content on our Patreon. It's only It's
£1 a month for the lowest rate. It's like 25p a week.
Yeah, 25p a week. Extra. We do a radio show on there. We do articles on there, and we do a video on there. I know times are hard, but you get involved.
Yeah, I mean, we're spending a lot of time. We've done a radio show tonight on like protest songs in relation to the coronation this week, and it's like an extra hour show that you can get by. And to do like your gym or whatever you commute to work and stuff.
Yeah, so
Scotty and Motty radio.
Go check that out. James Young's doing a bit of producing.
I just seen, yeah.
I'm impressed. We've got a section now, a new segment, and finally, where we find a little quote. Because when I was in news, well, anyway, you don't have to work in news to know this. They always have a story at the end, don't they? And finally, a man in Stockport has, walked the length and breadth of the country to raise money for something, or one of those quirky stories. What's the finally this week, Youngie?
So it's a story in the Daily Star about a Russian TV channel that was talking about what we were claiming to eat during the coronation, and it says apparently we had tomato sauce, cheese, and cashews to mark the coronation.
Right. So let me get this right. A Russian
news organisation,
right,
MKRU, claimed that to honour the coronation, cafes and restaurants were preparing special foods and drinks. But I don't know how many were having tomato sauce and cashew nuts.
Well, like in a soup or like a dip?
No, just like on their own.
So is that their way of... I mean, this is obviously made up, innit?
Yeah.
So that's their way of having a dig at us. Like, look at what they're doing. I mean, there's lots of things you can have a go at us over this coronation.
And that's the one they chose.
You don't have to make up something about the coronation quiche, or whatever it was called.
Coronation quiche.
Which is the worst thing ever for a multitude of reasons.
I saw this article when James put it in our WhatsApp group, and I was trying to think, what would you say is British food, or like what would, if you were to get an alien or like from outer space, or someone who's never been to England before, and say this is a dish that represents the country, or like proper English, as some political groups may say. What would be an English breakfast?
Meat and potato pie.
What about roast beef? What have you done there? Are we all right? We still?
Yeah, fine. I'm just screenshotting the story so we can put it on the screen.
Like, what's it? A carvery, like roast beef.
So like a Sunday dinner?
Sunday dinner, that's
fish and chips.
Roast. Yeah.
Fish and chips is Portuguese, and I think I started with a Jewish dish. I think.
What about Sunday roast? Is that not British? Roast beef?
Maybe,
that's what our nickname,
Sunday,
isn't it?
Yeah, Yorkshire puddings and stuff.
Yeah, a bit of that. Bit of gravy, on there. Get involved in the chat and let us know. Ryan Yanni says toad in the hole. David 8.
What is toad in the hole?
Toad in the hole is...
Is that like a sausage and mash?
Yeah, is that like sausage and bread?
Yeah, it's like sausage in like a bread thing that you put in the oven.
Sausage and bread. Sounds very Cockney to me. That.
Yeah. Like jelly deal.
You remember when I had jelly deal?
Yeah, I remember when I had jelly deal. That was fun.
Daniel Gray says a roast, shepherd's pie, hot pot, full English, pie and mash. Matt Wick says sausage in Yorkshire. I think that's what toad in the hole is.
How do you think English cuisine, given the vast list of carb heavy food we've had there, compares with other nationalities' food? It's like when you look at Americans, like everything's large,
Yeah, American food though isn't American, lot of it, is it?
There we go.
Well, it's the same in England, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, like a lot of.
There you go.
Brits, eggplant, tomato sauce, cheese, and cashews to mark coronation.
What is eggplant?
Aubergine.
Right. Okay.
I do like a fried eggplant.
Right. Okay. Well, talk about eating us where it hurts. I mean, that's disgusting.
Yeah. What did Daniel say? David Gray. We are in the bottom percentile for cuisines, surely.
Did you like that transition then?
Very good.
Smooth, yeah.
Very good.
We're not. Listen, James, you've done really well. I don't think having a performance review halfway through a podcast is the way.
Gotta love him, man. Yeah.
Am I doing good?
Am I doing well? Did you see that?
We'll get a star for the fridge, son. Yeah.
Well done, James Young.
What's your lot's delicacy? Is it lamb?
Welsh rabbit.
Welsh rabbit's banging.
Or like Glamorgan sausage. Probably more around my way.
Glamorgan sausage.
Glamorgan sausage.
Nice. Very nice indeed.
Chicken tikka masala. Actually, is an English dish because they don't have tikka masala in India.
We've obviously got a cake from where I'm from.
Cake?
Where I live.
Oh, right, yeah. The Eccles cake.
Putting Eccles on the map.
I think Pound Bakery is like quintessential British cuisine.
Bakery?
Yeah. Have you been to Pound Bakery?
Something like, is that a...
It's like Greg's, but like somehow worse. Even more like cheaper.
Before we wrap up, who's your unsung hero? Did we get one in the end?
So, I did. I mean,
this is Youngie's segment. This one I was giving him.
Yeah, go on.
It's pushing it a bit.
He's pushing it a bit. He's pushing it a lot. Go on.
Miguel Borgia, who scored the winning penalty against Boca Juniors last night for River Plate, caused like a mass melee that went on for like a good 8 minutes. Melee.
Melee?
Yeah.
You mean like a melee?
Yeah, I say melee. Melee,
right,
same thing.
Right, all right.
Right. and it was just carnage basically. Eight yellow cards and 7 red cards afterwards. So
Did you see who was involved as well?
was it Marcos Rojo by any chance?
And Sergio Romero,
Wow.
who featured on our intro, if you listen closely. Yeah, it was. I didn't realise.
So the unsung hero was someone causing a fight in South America.
Have you got any better suggestions, Scott?
I wasn't picking holes in it, you dickhead. I was only asking.
Can I say? No, actually, no. Don't matter. No.
What were you going to say?
No,
I think my unsung hero of the week would be James Young. I think this is probably one of his better performances.
Yeah, I agree. I think you deserve a bit of credit. You've absolutely smashed it.
Can we all thank James, please, in the comments? We give him a hard time.
Hashtag sack
Obviously,
Youngie.
we haven't got the outro done yet, so we won't be like.
But he's done very well, and we're very proud of him.
Coronation quiche, yeah, whatever.
He's raised the bar from a very low point to a point which can only be described as satisfactory.
Yeah.
So, well done. We're going to wrap it up there. Thanks to everyone who got involved in the chat and the comments. Go and check out our Patreon if you want to see more of me and him and hear more of us and Youngie, of course. Also, there's the radio show as well, yeah?
Radio show, articles, loads of stuff, man, loads of stuff going on. Like we said, we always know times are hard and it's not much though, really, is it?
No, and we will be back here next week, 7 o'clock next week, a little bit later today because we had a bit of recording to do. Back here next week, 7 o'clock, so make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. That's been Scotty, I've been Motty, that's been Youngie. Thanks for watching.
That flew, that, man.
Done.